going to be safe. But when you say a school is gun-free, it's got no guns, no nothing, it's gun-free, boy, that's what they want to hear. So I agree with you, Patrick. Strongly agree with you.
Fred Kittle from Bartow County Schools in Bartow County, Georgia. First, so my mom doesn't whoop me, thank you for March 29th for the veteran. She's a Vietnam widow, and my uncle's a wounded veteran, former police chief in Bossier City. What we're doing in our, I've got to thank Clarence Roby of BNS, who's, as you know, school boards. We have regular jobs and do this on the side. But one of the things that we're doing in our school system, and Georgia's given the school boards a lot of power, and you were absolutely correct. There's things local can already do. We have the single point of entry at all of our schools. You have to be buzzed to get in. We do have resource officers, and like you said, it would take quite a bit. We have, I believe it's 7 with our school, and we have 13,332 students and 892 teachers there. But we also work really closely with our law enforcement. For example, one of our middle schools and elementary police stations right around the corner, and we do pay the sheriff's department and local police to help do when people are coming and going to do the traffic, but it's also they're there and they're present, so that's also a deterrent.
How many are in the school? Because when you have a sheriff's department, they don't have enough people to really take care of a school. That's the problem.
You're absolutely correct. Now here's something the state of Georgia did after the last shootings in 2014 in giving the school systems the authority. We're allowed to, if the school board so votes on it, we actually can have armed employees. They do have to go through their safety firearm training and that, and then our resource officers also go through a third party, another party, for training each year. So you're absolutely correct, and there is more that can be done. And I think a lot of it too that we need to address too is the heart problem, the heart issue. You know, one of the things that comes out is the family. We come from a community where the faith-based community just wants to help all they can. When the tornadoes hit Adairsville, FEMA thought they were going to be there a long time, very short. People volunteered, came out with chainsaws right when it happened, and they had to send them back because they had to get the power and gas and all that. But when you're allowed to have the faith-based, it does a lot. Right now, they're trying to figure out how to help us in all kinds of ways, but because of this separation of church and state that was never intended. So we would appreciate if you keep appointing the justices like you're doing that follow the Constitution on there.
We're having great success with the appointment of justices, that's true, and judges.
And I need to say this so they don't fuss at me, but we have a lot of people praying for you and your administration there in Georgia. We have quite a few churches there. We have a group called President's Team. Once a week they pray for y'all.
Thank you.
They're praying for you and your community. I know that may sound, you know, with the devastation, I can't imagine. I've got 6 kids, and I can't imagine losing any of those. In fact, watching what you had, and I love how you're having everybody discuss and talk, and then a solution. I mean, you're solving things that we hear politicians for 30 years, and you're doing it within a year, and we really appreciate it. And we kind of taken your motto, just do your job, and that just works phenomenally, because when it's one person responsible, then we know where it comes down on.
Well, I want the politicians to watch, like yesterday, very importantly. They watched, and a lot of them saw that, and they saw the devastation that's caused. And, you know, some of them maybe don't know if they don't get to see. I mean, I was with those families, and those families are devastated. And I want the politicians to see that, because they have to pass legislation. They have to do things.
That's right.
And I'm the biggest believer of the Second Amendment that there is, okay? I am the biggest. But I'll tell you what, I spoke with the NRA at the top people, and they gave me tremendous support, and tremendous. I think I had their earliest, I was probably the earliest one, Kellyanne, from what I hear, ever. You know, they endorsed me at the absolute earliest point that you could. And I'm a believer. But I spoke to them, and they're ready to do things. They want to do things. You know, they're good people. They're patriots. They love this country. But the NRA is ready to do things. And, you know, people like to blame them, and they do have power and all of that, but they want to do, they actually came up with certain of the rules and regulations that we have now, but we're going to have to toughen, I told them, I said, we're going to have to toughen them up because it doesn't make anybody look good, and most importantly, I saw the devastation of these families. We can't allow that to happen. But again, we need a hardened school, but we want to harden it without having everybody standing there with a rifle. I don't want that either, because that's no good. That sets a lot of bad signals. Like, as an example, I'm watching John Kelly, General John Kelly. So he's a 4-star Marine. He's a tough cookie. If he was a teacher of mine, I wouldn't mind having him have a gun, because I guarantee he can use it better than anybody. There's no security guard you're going to hire that's going to handle a gun better than him. So if he's a teacher, and if other friends of his from the Marine, if they're teaching, or other people like that, I want them to have a gun. But more importantly, almost more importantly, nobody's going to attack that school. Because they know General Kelly is the history teacher. He's teaching about how we win wars, okay? And he's got a concealed weapon. But they're going to know he's got a concealed, because we tell them that the bullets are going to be flying in the other direction. You're not going to have these attacks if you do that. If you're going to continue with this nonsense about a gun-free zone, gun-free, it sounds so good. It's like, it sounds so great. It is such a target for the killer. They look for gun-free zones because, believe it or not, they don't want to get killed.
And we are a soft target, so are movie theaters and that.
Well, look at the guy in Florida. He tried to escape with the other, right? He had a great policeman, caught him in a different community.
Right.
But he actually escaped. He didn't want to get shot. If he would have known that he was going to be shot, because he's a coward. But he tried to escape. He did actually escape. They had a great policeman in a different community, found him. So that's what we need.
One of our board members did ask me to ask you, however, when we're looking at all these solutions, and we all know that the kids are precious and we need to do whatever we need to do. But at the same time, one of the things that hurts our systems a lot is when we come up with these unfunded mandates, we'll suddenly have something that, that we have to do and we don't necessarily have the money. So if it is something on the federal level, we would like to make sure that it's funded, because we've already had to go to a different block schedule. It cost us 30 teachers, and we don't want to.
This isn't so much about funding. This is more about common sense. I mean, the money we're talking about, what I'm talking about is going to save money. Everybody that agrees on a hard time, they're all talking about having 50 security guards standing all over the school, which is, going to be very not nice for the students. I'm talking about something where they're there anyway, where they get a little extra money because they happen to carry, where they go for training every year. I mean, we're talking about rules and regulations for purchasing. We're talking about changing an age from 18 to 21. I mean, so they buy a revolver, a handgun, they buy at the age of 21. And yet, these other weapons that we talk about, that some people don't like, they're allowed to buy them at 18. So how does that make sense? How does that make sense? So I say that it should all be at 21. But we're not really talking about money. We're talking about common sense. And it's a great thing. And the NRA will back it. I really feel very confident. The NRA will back it, and so will Congress, and so will the Senate.
We'd like to not focus on just the tool. You're also focusing on like mental illness and other issues and family.
No, focus on mental illness. You got to focus on mental illness. It's a big factor. But in addition to mental illness, we have to harden our schools. We have to make sure, in a way that doesn't look like they're hardened. But we have to let the bad guy know that they are hardened. There's not going to be no, we don't want to have a secret. Say, you come in here, you're not going to last long. You do that, you're not going to have a problem. Betsy, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much for your